investor attraction. I've also been doing a lot of work around SME development and promoting inclusion through the stock exchange. So through the kind of work that I've been doing at the BSE, I have been mainly promoting inclusion, like I've said, and ensuring that people understand that the stock exchange is for everyone, not just for a select few. So I have been head of market development for the last 9 years, and I've been part of a wonderful team that has transformed the capital markets in Botswana through some of the initiatives that I've just highlighted now.
All right, that's incredible. Maybe I understand that you've also been recognized by the World Federation of Exchanges. So share to us how you've been recognized. How has the journey been?
It's really been wonderful because it's a recognition of the kind of work that I've done personally and at the exchange level. And I also have to highlight the fact that, you know, I've been able to do what I've done at the exchange because I work with a wonderful team as well as stakeholders. So sometime last year, I got note of the fact that I was nominated for this, and obviously there was some engagement between myself and the World Federation of Exchanges in terms of answering certain questions about my professional journey, my achievements and all of that. So I was really happy beginning of this month, particularly that it's International Women's Month, that the announcement was made after the selection was made by industry leaders who obviously know all the activities that are happening in the market and obviously recognizing my role in terms of market development in Botswana, within Africa and even outside.
That's incredible. I'm also tempted to ask you again, what does that mean to you both on, you know, personal and your professional level?
Okay, personally, you know, it's the kind of recognition that one aspires for as a professional. And secondly, because, like I said, it's International Women's Month, so it also shows that as women, we can do amazing things, particularly in the finance space. I've really been in contact with a lot of people who have really said, you know, Thapelo, we are happy that you are able to get this recognition because now you are able to represent us as women and show that as women we are capable, particularly being in the financial sector. I know there are certain areas within work itself that are perceived to not be for women, or where we see underrepresentation of women. So I think this award is important in that sense.
That's incredible. I'm also interested in understanding that, as you've already mentioned, that there are some areas within the workspace that is, you know, deemed as dominated by your male counterpart. How has this been? How have you been working with, especially in these areas where we're seeing that men are in dominance?
Yes, I've been very purposeful in my work at the exchange to promote inclusion. When you look at inclusion is broad. So we have some initiatives at the exchange that are geared towards promoting inclusion and ensuring that women also participate in that space. I'll give you a couple of examples. We do a bell ringing ceremony every year to commemorate International Women's Day as a way of promoting gender equality, as a way of celebrating the achievements of women, and as a call to action for all stakeholders to come on board in terms of supporting women empowerment. And also we have one of our flagship events being this HPD mentorship program, where we always encourage women to come forth and be mentored so that they can get their businesses ready to be listed in a stock exchange environment. So we've been very purposeful. And I remember last year we did a webinar for Methelo. We know Methelo mostly ke bomme. So it was also one way of saying that as the stock exchange, we are open to working with women, and also around the issue of mentorship. When I started earlier, I did say the Botswana Stock Exchange has been open in terms of getting participation from, you know, young women, from women in the financial space itself. So every time we have events at the BSC, we open them up to the public. And I've been very happy that a lot of amazing women have come through to interact, obviously showing that they're committed to growth and are ready for leadership.
All right. Now, what do you do as maybe an organization to young people, especially in institutions of of learning, of higher learning. By they want to become what Thapelo is they're growing up, because I believe BAC they're doing the same courses that it might be in relation to what you're doing. What is it that you're doing to make sure that at the end of the day we're not only communicating to women but everyone? You are talking about mentorship. Yes. They are looking up to you to say we also want to be in these spaces. How do we bridge this gap?
Yes, I believe a lot in mentorship, definitely personally and in the professional space. So personally, I do mentor a lot of young people, and a lot of them come from universities and are still at school. They are wondering how their future is going to shape up in the corporate world. And then as the BSc, we also collaborate greatly with universities around. I think we have indeed collaborated with a lot of them, University of Botswana, BAC, particularly on issues of financial literacy, where we've rolled out certain programs to universities so that they can understand trading on the stock exchange and listing on the Botswana Stock Exchange when they eventually have their own businesses. So we've collaborated greatly with them. We've also sponsored, we have guest lectured, and we continue to interact with that segment, because it's really, really important to catch them while they're still young so that we build a future pipeline of investors as well as issuers.
Most definitely. Now, still on your recognition, what key contributions or initiatives at the Botswana Stock Exchange do you believe led to this recognition?
Yes, when I started at the BSc 9 years ago, I was very intentional and purposeful because, coming from a background of, policy, SME development, and being passionate about the development of Botswana, I decided that I would obviously focus my energy on initiatives that would obviously change or impact other people or stakeholders positively. So one such initiative was the TPD Mentorship Program, which was introduced in 2019 as a way of ensuring that the SME segment is catered for at the Botswana Stock Exchange. Like I've said, we are coming from a place where there is a misconception in terms of who can participate at the Botswana Stock Exchange in terms of issuers and investors. So the TPD Mentorship Program was important in the sense that it allowed SMEs to come face to face with all the different advisors that are involved in the listing ecosystem so that they can get proper advice, get mentorship, and get direction in terms of what they need to do so that they are listed in the future. And then in terms of some of the initiatives that I've done, I work a lot around issuer and investor attraction. So I work a lot with companies that wish to list at the Botswana Stock Exchange. So what I have done is to introduce a framework for listing, which is aimed at ensuring that we retain the companies that we have listed, as well as attract the companies that are not listed. So by doing so, it's just to sort of handhold these companies throughout this process and ensure that the listing journey is less daunting for these companies. And then there's been a couple of other initiatives like introducing certain listings at the Botswana Stock Exchange. So I'm very proactive. I'm very proactive, and I give my all. So I always ensure that, whatever I work on, whether it's revenue diversification initiatives at the Botswana Stock Exchange, I'm purposeful in that. And one thing that I have really been working a lot on is obviously the issue of collaboration and partnerships, because you have to recognize that it doesn't start and end with our market here in Botswana. You have to build a strong stakeholder base, both in Africa and as well as beyond. So I have a very strong relationship with the African stock exchanges and some of the people that work there, such that we are able to share information about what's happening in our respective markets, because we are talking at the moment about issues of cross-border trading. So you need to be able to understand what's happening in other markets and stuff like that. So at ASEA level, at continental level, I'm part of the policy and regulatory working group, where obviously there's a lot of initiatives that are done in that area. I think you'll recall that last year we hosted the ASEA conference, which ASEA is the Association for African Stock Exchanges. So we hosted the ASEA conference, and it really also cements the kind of partnerships that we have. And even I do a lot of work even outside of Botswana. I'm part of a Pan-African board for a company that's based in Kenya. So it's really important that we do work here, and then we also collaborate extensively with other stakeholders so that we can provide that much needed extension to our mandate.
That's incredible. I like that you are not only confined within our borders. You're talking about international stages. Earlier on, you mentioned about investor attraction. How would that, helping us to grow the economy of this country? At the end of the day, not only working with those within our reach. You mentioned other boards that you sit on.
Yes.
What is it that would contribute to the economy of this country? How would it contribute?
Definitely. When you talk about investor attraction, in the stock exchange ecosystem, we have local investors and we have international investors. And in the local and international context, we have both retail investors and institutional investors. So we know that our market is quite huge as far as the size of the pension fund, So we have a lot of pension fund assets that are available. So it's essentially those assets always land in instruments that are listed at the BSC. And then when you look at the retail segment, I'm really, really passionate about that because that's individuals, you and I, investing in the stock market. That is really important for the market in terms of issues of price discovery and promoting liquidity. Because when you hear about the challenges that take place within stock exchange environments, the issue of liquidity is always on top. So it's really important that we have the retail segment participating heavily at the stock exchange. We talk now about, democratizing wealth. We talk now about financial inclusion, financial literacy, and citizen economic empowerment. So those are the areas that we are obviously trying to push and promote when we talk about retail investor participation. And really, tota nna ke eletsa hela gore ke bone Botswana le bone ba setse ba participate mo stock marketeng ka bontsi ba bone because madi a teng ha gongwe re ipetse hale re ipetse thabenyana hale ke gore re tsaya madi ona ra tse ra be ko stock exchange akere because we have different products and hopefully for growth purposes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
If you've just joined us, remember I'm in conversation here with Thapelo Moribame, Head of Market Development at the Botswana Stock Exchange, taking us through her journey as has been named among the top 20 women leaders for 2025 by the World Federation of Exchanges. Now we are towards the end of our conversation. Still with that breath, what barriers still exist for women aspiring for leadership roles in the financial sector, and how can they be addressed? Because I believe they are there.
Yes, there are challenges. There is definitely representation of women, and at the BSC we've been fortunate in the sense that we have a significant number of our staff members being female. So it's something that we are alive to and promoting actively. And then when you look at the issue of barriers to entry, I always say that it's really, really important that as women, obviously we are aware of that underrepresentation. As women, we need to work hard in terms of, developing ourselves so that we make ourselves available for the opportunities that are there in the market. And then as corporates, we need to work hard to ensure that we put in place initiatives that support the growth of women. So it's not, and I have to emphasize, it's not about displacing our male counterparts or competing with our male counterparts. It's about ensuring that as women, we are also seen as being able to contribute to whatever growth is on the table. So corporates have to come up with initiatives that promote the growth of women. And some of the initiatives that we've been doing, like the bell ringing ceremony, I think now there's a lot of attention on the call for women to be properly represented in leadership. And also, I think one of the challenges that we see prevalent now is the issues of gender-based violence that we've been exposed to recently. So unless we come up with ways of ensuring that doesn't happen, we are still behind in terms of promoting women's or women participation in the workplace.
Yeah, I was about to ask in the same breath that with all the initiatives that have been done, we'll get into those ones that maybe cooperatives have to take in place to make sure that at the end of the day, they put women at the equal level with men. But have you seen any shift or in attitude towards female leadership in finance over the years?
Yes, definitely. I've seen a shift in terms of women leadership, and I must say I've seen a lot of women taking up leadership roles, and I've seen a lot of women being assertive, because I spend a lot of time also observing how other women are doing it and stuff like that. So I've definitely seen a shift in the sense that, and if you look at what's been happening at this present time, even in terms of social media activities, you'll see that a lot of corporates now are alive to the issue of celebrating Women's Month and commemorating it in that manner. So I think it's those small wins that are eventually going to help us in terms of achieving our cause in this area.
Right. Now we are towards the end. How can Botswana encourage more women to take up leadership roles in financial markets and, corporate governance? Because at the end of the day, we are talking about this, but initiatives should be put in place to make sure that everything that we are talking about is being put in motion. That is not only about talk and talk and talk, but we don't see work at hands. What is it that corporates and, government have to put in place to make sure that at the end of the day, there is implementation?
Yes, I think we've spent a lot of time in rhetoric, so it's now time for action.
Yeah.
So I think as corporates, as a country, we need to obviously apply this to our policy and practice. I think that's the only way we can get ahead. So we need to move away from the rhetoric and talking about this as a hypothetical topic, and actually get to the point where we have action in place in order to push towards women empowerment.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we are wrapping up with this one. What mentorship and support systems are essential for fostering the next generation of female financial leaders? And what advice would you give to young women aspiring to make an impact in the financial finance and investment space, not only in this country but abroad?
Yes. So for women wishing to make an impact in finance and investment, I would say, firstly, work on, if you want to be a professional in that sector, I would say work on empowering yourself, get those degrees, get those certificates, go for that training. And then secondly, ensure that you are always present where conversations around those two topics I had. Like I've said, there's a lot of initiatives, events that are happening. So I would simply advise them to partake and see, and so that they're able to meet potential mentors in that area. And also for women, I think women definitely do a lot in the financial space. So apart from participating as professionals, there's also a way that women can also participate, because bomme bana le dikgwebo, I get it, bomme ke bana le ba dira metshelo, bana le dikgwebo. I recently attended a conference for women where, obviously there was a room full of women entrepreneurs. So definitely women are doing amazing things. So they just have to continue doing that, and also be purposeful in how they're doing their businesses and profiling their businesses and approaching entities like the Botswana Stock Exchange that can really help them to scale and also grow their businesses through the various instruments that we have in place.
Most certainly. I said that was the last question, but I'm also tempted in asking this one because you mentioned it, that women are involved in all these, financial, businesses. But it was something that we've been talking about with other, guests here. We're talking about financial literacy that is lacking within our communities. Yes. What ought to be done that at the end of the day, if I have a business, I know how I can, make more money, profit, and, invest into, getting into other businesses, not
yes.
Because that is lacking the financial literacy.
Yeah, financial literacy is important, but I'll tell you what else is important: education.
Yeah. Because
when you look at our curriculum, back when we were at school and everything, I think it's important that financial related information is present or is part of the curriculum,
Yeah.
so that when you're at school, you understand what the stock exchange is all about. You understand what investing in shares carries in terms of returns and risks. So education is really, really important. And we've worked a lot with some of our stakeholders in order to highlight the importance of having our curriculum include a lot of financial related material. So then financial literacy is also important in the sense that we need to, as a society, be aware of what it takes, processing financial information and being aware of what it takes to grow our businesses, be aware of what it takes to create wealth. So those are the things that are really, really important. And as the BSc, because we've been taking a leadership role in this area, there's a lot of information that we share to promote financial literacy. So my advice would be that this information is processed, it's utilized, so that we are able to then move to the next level.
Moribame, and that is how we come to the end of this conversation. Thank you so much, and we really applaud you for the recognition among the top 20 women by Longkoreba recognized you. We thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And that is how we come to the end of this conversation. I'm coming right back with the 3 o'clock news.
As journalists, editors, you shape public discourse, you influence perceptions, and bring issues to the forefront of national conversation. Your role is not just to report, but to educate. It is not just to report, but to educate. The media is a very, very powerful tool. Very powerful. The power that you possess is unbelievable. So not just to